Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi. We're still getting a lot of people streaming into the waiting room.
Roger that.
Yes, so I'll be kind of like letting people in, and I don't know if I want to go through my whole spiel and repeat it, but it's
Well,
great.
let's give it a minute before the spiel, but go ahead.
Um, it's great to have you here with us. I just finished another wonderful group session, and I was so bad at cutting people off because I felt so guilty. But then I felt really guilty at the end when the last couple of people had so much less time than the first two people. So I'm going to be a little more aggressive in this session at trying to keep everyone a little more time limited. Maybe we'll try to give yourself, when you're talking about your project, like, a minute or two to describe what you're working on, and get into the specifics of the questions or the problems or the advice that you're looking for that our industry panelists could help you with. Because sometimes people describe their projects at great length, but it's not clear like how we can weigh in and how we can help, and what are the problems you're facing, or what's the kind of feedback that would be most trenchant and helpful for you. And so I'll try to be a little more aggressive about cutting people off. And then if we have a little time at the end, we'll circle back to second or third questions, or dive a little bit deeper into things. And I was a screener this year for the Big Apple Film Festival, which was a terrible job because I saw so many great films. And they kept telling me you only could really recommend a couple, but like there's so many good ones. So that was actually a wonderful treat. And I'm also an indie filmmaker and writer producer, and I'm just thrilled to have everyone here with us. I'm going to kind of go through my display a bit in order, and I'm going to ask our industry panelists to tell us a bit about who they are and what they do, and anything like really awesome and really interesting and compelling and exciting that they're working on right now. And then when I get to our attendees, I'll just ask you to talk a little bit about your project and kind of dig really deeply into how we can be of help, what kind of advice or feedback we can offer, or if you've hit a roadblock, you feel like everything's going great and I've hit a wall, tell us what the wall is and what kind of advice or thoughts we could offer that would be most helpful for you in moving forward. So for our industry guests, I guess I will actually start with Martin, because I see that you're on audio with us. So do you want to tell us a bit about what you do and what you're working on right now that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I'm currently an agent at A3 and been working in the industry since 2009. Um, my main focus is TV. Like, as we all know, the streaming platforms are changing. Movies are becoming a thing that they all kind of want, and so there's a seemingly convergence in TV and film. And the other thing is, TV is starting to feel like making films. I've
Uh,
a project at Stars that's taken 5 years.
oh,
Uh, it's only going to
wow.
start production this year. So, it takes a while. Projects that are special takes time. We have another project at Peacock that took 2.5 years
Whoa.
to get to a mini room. So uh, the process is becoming quite similar sometimes. And so I do have a small background in film financing as well, but at our agency we have a group of people that do handle that more so than I do.
Hmm. That's really cool. Wow, that those are a long time. It's interesting how it's kind of like we live in a time of a loop where TV is starting to feel more like indie film used to, and all the lines are blurring, and all the actors are blurring, and everything is. It's a very compelling and interesting time. That's really cool, Martin. Um, and I see you're also on audio, Sean. Do you want to jump in and tell us a bit about what you do and what you're working on right now that you're excited about?
Yeah, it's great to be here. So I am a writer producer. Again, I started about the same time as Martin back in 08, 09. Uh, after kind of banging my head against the walls for a little while, I realized I kind of needed to approach the industry in a different way. So what I did was learn marketing and distribution,
Hmm.
and sort of what happens behind the curtain. So quite literally, started as a receptionist at a distribution company, worked my way up to head of distribution.
Hmm.
I've released over 1,000 films for clients, including Sundance, Pokemon, most of the small distributors in North America. Done some special projects for some of the agencies like Paradigm. Um, and now I go back and forth between helping other filmmakers sort of navigate that distribution world that they don't really teach you in film school,
Yeah.
as well as creating and packaging projects with that sort of business model in mind. So
Hmm.
right now, I guess I'd say I'm most excited. I'm in the middle of packaging 3 or 4 films, and working on the financing for those as well as the talent.
Oh, that's really cool. That's a really interesting window, both into kind of more the creative and inception process, but also the distribution process that I think flummoxes so many of the more creative people how to actually get your films out in the world. That's really awesome. And I also have you, Elissa, if you want to jump in and tell us a bit about yourself and your journey and what you're working on right now that you're excited about.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been in the business about 17 years now. I worked primarily as a I would consider myself like an in-house producer, but I was an executive for a feature film financing company, and I oversaw all of development and production at that company for over 10 years. And then for me, it was a little crazy. The company that I had worked at closed right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and I had been in LA all those years,
Hmm.
and decided, I wanted to move back east where I'm originally from, and that's where my family is. So I, made the decision to move myself and my family back to the East Coast. And so I'm here now, and I've switched careers a little bit from being on the producing side of things to now I'm a manager for writers and directors. And but I love it. It's been great. And I found that, having been a producer and working in development and working in financing, I understand a lot about what the people, what people are looking for when you're being pitched, and the questions that they're going to be asking the directors and the writers and the answers that they want to hear. So I've had, I think, a really easy time kind of being able to mentor my clients on breaking into the business. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. And my clients right now have mostly come from the commercial and music video side of the
Oh.
business. So they started out doing a lot of commercials, a lot of music videos. Most of them are very successful in that space, and they've wanted to make the transition into doing features and series. And most of them actually have done a lot of work already in that space, whether they've done shorts that have gone to festivals, or I even have some clients that have already done features. But they're primarily coming from that world of commercial and music video, and I get to help them kind of navigate these other worlds of features and series. So that's
That's
me.
awesome. I love
Yeah.
hearing from reps who are really passionate about helping their clients kind of guide and transition to new parts of their careers, because I think we all need a holding hand, and there's so much out there. And it's so great you also come from a background with finance and production, because you're the person who can offer real world advice. That's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
And last but not least, we have Henry. And do you want to tell us a bit about your journey recently, what you've been working on, and anything super cool you can share with us?
Well, I'm going to give you the short version of the journey, because I want to give these people as much time as I can. But I don't been, moved out to Los Angeles. After I dropped out of school in Minnesota, and I came out to USC, and I dropped out of USC, and got a job as a reader at an agency, which was a major clients agency at the time, which then became Genesis Literary, which then merged with Paradigm.
Mm.
But while I was doing that, I was also like bouncing at a bar, building coffee bean and tea leaf stores, et cetera, et cetera. But so, I mean, I read thousands and thousands of scripts and hundreds of novels and all kinds of things. So that's for anybody who wants to educate themselves as a writer, that's a great way to do it. But been, working in film and television. I write and produce and direct for quite some time. Most recently, Jupiter's Legacy, Black Summer, and Arcane, all for Netflix. And I've got a ton of awesome stuff in the works. However, everybody gets an NDA for you nowadays.
Yeah.
You can't peep about anything. But some really awesome big stuff on the horizon. That's good. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to provide some insight and answers to the lovely attendees here today.
I know we've got some great people here with us. And as I said in my last session, I was so bad at enforcing time. And then, because I hate keep cutting people off, and a lot of the discussions feel, really relevant to everybody. But then by the end, the last people on my display really didn't get enough time. So I'm going to be a little more aggressive in this session at cutting people off, as much as I hate it. And, try, if you can, when you describe what you're working on or what, you're struggling with, let us know in like a minute or two. And then, especially because we have multiple panelists, that gives everyone a little bit of time, or whoever feels most inspired, to weigh in and offer like their thoughts and their solution and their feedback to your questions, or the, kind of like these roadblocks we all face occasionally where we feel stuck, and we can use some advice in moving forward. So I'm going to start in my display. You're at the top, Jaguar. I hope I'm saying your name right. If you want to jump in, tell us a bit about what you're up to and how we can help.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Chaz Clover.
Okay.
Jaguar Bridge is the name of the production company.
I see. Okay.
I'm in a peculiar situation. I'm new to coming into film at an older age. Some people I've seen in this discussions the last few days. I'm representing a story that began as a documentary out of Costa Rica, which breaks the traditional idea of the star of ecotourism, where my point of view is telling the story is about the long-term effects, psychological effects of the war on drugs, of modern day colonialism through ecotourism. Myself in the story, I'm a queer sage artist who has been creating artworks wrapped around consciousness and perception. I left the advertising world and moved to Central America. Subsequently, the artworks have been continuously getting destroyed, so much so that I built an artist center in Costa Rica, and the center has burnt down twice by aggressive acts from neighbors and a deranged lover. So the dilemma is, we've gotten incredible footage over probably the last decade of the story, is how to merge or move the story, the documentary, to a script, and then also to find a director. I think it's incredibly relevant as I watch things being pushed onto Netflix, such as The Last Shaman, and these sorts of stories, that there's still a break in authenticity of what's really happening in Latin America. And also just the unique perspective of, a gay guy in the middle of nowhere, who's a contemporary hero trying to get this story out. So that's now tossed back. Thank you.
Let me unmute myself here. So I've got some experience in documentary stuff, more kind of early in my career, but I also know a lot of people that make documentaries and what have you. And if you've got all, so let me just understand this. You've got all this footage, like you've just got like loads and loads and loads of footage.
Yes, and it's organized, and we've started building sizzle reels. And we have a great advisory team. I have an Emmy award person from Vice who's advising us on this. So it's just making the step from, it's not really a newsreel documentary. It's more a story, a point of view from me who's in it, and putting this out.
Well, then if
and
you've got the footage, right? Sorry to cut you off there, but if you've got the footage, it seems to me that what you need is not a director, you need an editor, right? You need an editor to come in there and start helping you focus that narrative, because it seems to me like you would be the one directing it at this point. I mean, why not? Right? I mean, you know it better than anybody. You know what's in the footage. You know the story that you want to tell, right? What you need is, a quality editor to really start lining that up. And it's a process. It's a huge commitment of time and whatever for that editor. You get the best person that you can, and pay them their rate and make them happy. But that seems to me like, if you've already got the footage, because it's not like, I want to make this documentary and I don't know how to shoot or whatever. Like, you've got the footage, right? So start cutting that stuff together, man. And your first cut is going to be way too long, and that's fine. And then you just start honing it down and seeing where you need to get to.
Okay.
Now, in turn,
Any ideas how to get an editor?
Well, editors are actually not all that hard to get. There's a bunch of there's tons of like below the line places that rep editors. I mean, you can just go and like look at reels and stuff online. You can just like input, and anybody else feel free to sound off if like somebody off the top of your head or whatever, but you can just look up editorial companies, and they'll have like suites of editors, and reels from those editors and what they've done, and what have you.
And
Thank
there
you.
are also there are some websites that are starting to like curate crew that will have all their contact information, and you can look up editors who have done similar projects who might be interested in working on something like this, and just reach out to them. So I know one of them that we use sometimes, it's called Crew VIE, so Crew and then VIE. I know there's other ones too, so that's not the only one, and I'm not sure if you need like a subscription or something for that one, but I know that there are websites where they will curate people you can reach out to about that. And then so just to ask, so you're asking about getting the documentary done, but then also after the documentary is complete, turning that documentary into like a fictionalized version, or at least like a narrative version. Is that what you're saying? Or are you just looking at the documentary? Like,
well, I've been studying as much as I can online to understand what this actually is. It's autobiographical, of course, and then there is documentary footage. The thing that I've been looking at, like there was just the Metamorphosis of Birds, which was just on Netflix. And because this is Latin America, I like engaging the more experimental side where you have avant-garde film merging with documentary through the lens of magical realism. So it's still true. I mean, it's real footage. Very little would be fictionalized. So I hope that answers some.
right. No, totally. I guess I thought for whatever reason, I thought there were like two parts. Like it was going to be the documentary, and then it was going to be, like a feature based on the documentary. But if it's just the documentary, that makes a lot more sense to me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Those are some great observations. And I would also just chime in very briefly that for some reason I've spent a lot of my life lately on IMDb Pro, And what's really cool about editors is they almost always have their phone numbers and emails, unlike, you know, really big producers or really big actors or writers. Editors are often really easy to reach. So you've mentioned some documentaries already and some things you love. You could probably get onto IMDb Pro, and there's a big chance those editors are way easier to reach than a lot of other people on films. They often just have their like cell number. It's really cool. So if there's someone whose work you love and you already know they've got the tonal feel and the vision you like, you could even start there. And, you know, editors are often way more approachable than other people. They do pick up their phone and they'll talk to you. And, you know, so I think that might be an awesome place to start. I think that was some really great advice, Henry and Elissa, on some good starting points. Thank you. And I'll move on to Cynthia. And just to add to what I said earlier, one of the best questions we had in the last session was like a career advice question where someone was saying like, he's won a ton of awards. The next thing he wants to do is be a writer's assistant. How does he do that? So I don't want to pigeonhole you and say you have to ask about a project. If you just have a career advice question, like I'm at this place in my career where I feel like I've made so much progress and now I'm stuck from that next level, that's an awesome question. Or like the question we just had from Chaz, if there is a specific project question we can help you with feedback or advice, that's awesome. So looking forward to hearing from you, Cynthia.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I am a fairly new writer. This is the second 30-second single cam dramedy that I have put out into the universe in the past like 7 years. So I wrote one for 3 years and then put it out, and it won an award for Best TV Pilot from the Los Angeles Film Awards and the Independent International Film Awards. And then I wanted to pull it back in and totally redo it. And so I did that, and I rewrote it during the pandemic. And then I just put it out like a month ago. And in order, as a way to vet it, I just applied to some film festivals, and it got placed as a semi-finalist in the Big Apple, which is how I ended up here with all of you amazing people. So I think my question at this point is my understanding was the best thing to do is to put it out there, because the woman that was kind of like mentoring me through the editing of it was like, that's how they vet it. It's like, you know, once you place in things, people know that like, okay, you're a decent writer. And so I think my question to all of you is, and then it's like, so if I, you know, have placed, and then I actually just got nominated in the Montreal, I think it's the International Film Festival, that just happened like a few days ago. So I'm just trying to figure out what the next step is.
Well, I just want to ask, what do you want the next step to be? Like, what's your goal? Are you looking to, you know, write and direct your own material? Are you looking to be a writer and getting like staffed on a series, or you're like, what are your goals?
I think like, I mean, I already have the idea for my next goal. I would really like to see this made. Obviously it's a dramedy. It's a very heartfelt story, like 32 million people, 32 million families deal with alienated children who they may or may not ever have a relationship again. And the irony of this story is that the main character becomes best friends with her alienated daughter's best friend. And they merge and basically reinvent their lives together. And it's a true story. So I would love to get it made. And I would love to keep writing. I don't see myself like on a staff, you know, like a staff type situation. I think I see myself more as like an independent writer, creator. And then this I'm a fine artist as well, a serious fine artist. So I actually kind of made a mini sizzle reel. I drew my own storyboard. The story takes place in New York. And it has magical realism in it. And I'm like a sculptor, painter. I can do like a lot of different things. So sky's the limit. I guess.
I mean, I'll
Yeah, that's
just
great.
chime in
Yeah.
and oh, sorry, Alyssa. In
No,
my
I was just glad that
experience,
she.
the best thing you can do is just start doing it yourself. No one's ever going to be as big of a champion for you as you are. So, I know people come from different places, whether you ever saw yourself as a director or a producer or any of that kind of stuff. But people in Hollywood are lazy. They want to be shown what they're missing, not kind of told what they're missing. So as great as it is to have a script, it's even better whether it's a sizzle reel or a proof of concept or a short, something that starts to actually bring it to life and kind of smack them in the face so
Okay.
that frankly they have even less work to do, so that once it's a hit, they can then take credit for it.
Okay. Thank you. I made a small sizzle reel. I did it on iMovie. And so I used all my drawings and it actually looks like it's moving. So it's, it's not finished, but thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think in terms of just getting people to take a look at it, my theory is, aim for CEs, coordinators at agencies, or management companies, or managers that are kind of more solo practitioners. These are kind of the people in our ecosystem that are trying to find the next big thing. As I've gotten older in the industry, the less new stuff I look at that don't come from managers or execs or people that I work with already. But the younger reps and younger execs, those are the people that are hungry to find that, like their job, their promotion depends on them finding the next thing.
Right. Okay.
That's some really great advice, everyone, on next steps. And this proof of concept kind of like short you're working on sounds really cool, Cynthia. It seems really like an awesome direction to go. I'm going to open it up to Natalie next. I see you also had a general question, Natalie, about how to find coordinators or how do you identify the coordinators. I think this is based on Martin's comment on IMDb Pro and some other database. Do you have any thoughts you want to share with us about that, Martin?
Yeah, they're usually listed. I don't use IMDb Pro. I think it's more kind of a talent-based engine. Generally, we use Studio System or Variety Insight. I find those two to be more helpful on at least the lit side of things.
Yeah.
They tend to be a little bit more up to date, I think, with the agency goings on. So yeah, they'll be listed as coordinators or creative execs at production companies or studios. Those are the people that you kind of can find and cross-reference it with Facebook. Like you can tell if someone's less senior than so I think that's kind of a good strategy, because I know that my coordinator is out there consistently looking for new writers and directors.
Okay, that's super helpful. I just didn't see it on IMDb Pro, but maybe
Yeah.
a different way to look for it.
Yeah, I myself don't update my IMDb Pro.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the lit side of things, those are the two engines, Variety Insight and Studio System, where we are more focused on. I think IMDb tends to be more talent driven.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that. I'm gonna just do like an overall career question, because I have about 12 different projects in development that are all in different stages. My background, I have a production company that did mostly branded and commercial stuff. And in the past couple of years, I've switched over to film development, which was always the goal. So I have a lot of, accolades experience in that space. And I think switching over has been interesting. Although COVID actually opened so many doors, like I've had meetings with Lionsgate. I've pitched to Amazon, Netflix, like crazy access because people were a little bit not on set. And so I've gotten so close, so many pitches. I think a lot of my problem as a filmmaker, ultimate goal is to be a director and a creative producer. But right now, you know, producing is a means to an end, to be able to direct more. But I think as a filmmaker, I'm really drawn, like a lot of my projects are like massive scope, period piece, anthology, like headaches for executives. And we try to make it as digestible as possible, but I know I'm swinging for the fences here. So given that that's kind of my taste, and I'm kind of, you know, those are projects that are a little bit too big for me to do on my own, but I haven't done a feature yet. And I haven't done even a TV show or anything. I've done lots of shorts that have done well, but I don't have that thing. I didn't win in Tribeca. Like I don't have that accolade that makes people say, yeah, we'll take a chance on you. So I guess I'm just stuck in that space where there feels like there's a massive divide between where I am and where I want to go. And I know that's a huge dilemma for everyone. It's a big question. So I guess I'm just kind of curious if you have any feedback for, like, should I put those projects way on the back burner and just try and get like a really small $1 to $2 million feature that maybe is not exactly my voice as a filmmaker, like not the space that I want to be in, but at least will show that I can handle a feature? Or should I be trying to get representation? Like, I feel like I'm kind of stuck on this carousel of not really sure what the right door to go through is. So sort of a broad question, but I'm sure other people might be in a similar spot.
I have some thoughts for you. So you already have resources, right? Just because of the production background and what you've done and, you know, what you're doing now. My advice would be to, like, I'm pretty established and I'm partnered up on a number of projects with people that are way bigger than me. And even with, like, partnered up with an A-list writer, with an A-list director and an A-list producer and half the financing, it's still hard. You can still go and strike out. I mean, I watched Dead Space, the video game, right? I watched that go out with A-list writer, A-list director, A-list, I mean, all the way around. Phenomenal pilot script. Didn't sell. Didn't sell. You're talking about a game with like $1 billion plus in video game sales, right? If only the people who bought that game watched the movie or the series, like, you're in the money. It didn't go, right? So big things are always hard to move. Even if you're big, right? Which you're not at the, you know, at the moment.
That made us show that you see how long it took to get like Scump going. Like, I just know it's a long,
all that stuff. But if you want to stop beating your head against the wall, right? If you want to skip the line, which like, and that's something I always advise people to do, is if you can skip the line, skip the line. If you want to skip the line, then do exactly what you just said, which is make something that you can make it a budget. If it's a pilot or if it's a feature, make something that you can execute exquisitely at that number, not something that you're stretching, right? Something you can execute exquisitely. And one of the movies that I always point at that I think they made for $11,000 was a little indie movie called Primer about time travel. And it was just really, really smart. And David Sullivan is gone on to be a phenomenal character actor from that. But they made that movie for $11,000, right? And illegally shot inside of a storage unit for like 50% of it. But it started a career for David Sullivan as an actor, and I'm spacing on the name of the director, but for the director as a director and a writer. On this, and then, you know, other people where it's like, if you even do a phenomenal short, but it has to be phenomenal, right? If you make your feature, if you go out there and it's not phenomenal, I'm telling you, it'd be better to never show anybody than to go out and try to swing with it, right? Whereas if you had 3 minutes of something that was superb, you know, people will notice. They really will. You know, there's a gentleman, Sayama Peterson, who made a fan film for Warhammer 40K fan film called Astartes. That was really a collection of shorts that he put together over the course of 5 years. Now it's CG, he did everything himself. But it's so superb. It was so brilliantly directed and written, and like every shot choice is just, chef's kiss. And he's got offers coming at him left, right, and center, including Games Workshop, who owns Warhammer 40K, immediately hired him. Just because he crushed it. Now, how many Warhammer 40K fan films are there out there? Thousands and thousands and thousands, and most of them suck. But that one was killer. So all you've got to, the answer is do something that you can do with the budget you have and make it superb, and you will go forward.
And just to clarify, does it have to be a feature, or you're saying even just an incredible short?
Do a feature. It's just whatever it is. It's just got to be great. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just chime in. I'd double down on the feature, because an indie feature is also much easier to sell and try to make some money back.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just as important to say I made a thing and it actually did okay, than saying I made a thing and there's nothing I can do with it after. You might just end up with, God forbid, a $500,000 calling card.
Right. Yeah, because I've done a bunch of shorts, so I think it makes sense to channel that energy into a feature.
Yeah. An example, this is when I was at Paradigm, when James Wan was there. That was a big example of Saw. Saw was a short film that the agent saw a world where this could become a feature film, and then the franchise kind of started. So I think if you can find the money to do a feature film and do it well, that's great. And if you can find money to do a short and do it well, that's also a possibility as well. We represent directors that we sign from short films. They don't necessarily need to have done something before, because obviously chicken or the egg, right? You can't really do a $1 million film. It's hard to kind of raise that type of money without having kind of proof of your talent, essentially.
Yeah.
That was going to be my other addition. Was, I know you had asked, should I be pursuing representation, or should I try to work on my next project? And I always tell people, you should be doing both things simultaneously, because either thing is going to help you get the other thing. So if you're doing, if you're working and you're putting out these shorts and they're really great, they're going to get attention. Someone's going to see them. You could possibly get representation that way, so you kind of have to, you just keep moving forward, and those things will happen.
Yeah, it's kind of just piggy off that is everything everywhere all at once is kind of what you have to do. The clients that do the best, have 6 things in development, are staffing and writing features, and they're we're not magicians as reps. We can only sell what we have. And the more that you output, the more opportunities, we can go out, because, it's easy to be bummed out when, you wrote this thing or directed this thing and no one's taking a look at it. But it's persistence.
Yeah, for sure.
If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. And so it's really good at pushing yourself to create, because that's the only product that you have.
And I'm not sure if because I've been literally pitching these massive worlds, a lot of people have seen my work and like, wow, you're super talented. We really like you. Come back to us when you've directed a feature. So maybe it's just the scope of what I'm pitching that they're like, there's no way we're going to let you do this.
The marketplace is definitely very difficult right now. You're seeing consolidation. You're seeing, platforms really pull back on their budget. Just look at HBO Max. We're sitting here waiting to see the other shoe to drop on what Discovery wants to do, because their business model is not to spend $50 million, right? Their business model is to spend $500,000 and to make $50 million off of that.
Right.
So, this is something that we're all kind of dealing with. And so, the big budget stuff, as you can see, are reserved for these big IPs, right? HBO is not going to write $1 billion check for an original idea, no matter how good it is, unfortunately. And to Henry's point, they might not even write $1 billion check for a piece of IP that like has a whole group of people that are behind it and has an audience. It's right now, buyers are, we actually don't know what buyers want, despite them saying they know what they want. They know it when they see it, is kind of what's happening out there. And that's why my advice is always be persistent. Just because they said no now doesn't mean they'll say no later. The marketplace will change. People's appetites will change. So it's you kind of have to keep on pushing and also create.
Yeah, I don't want to eat up too much time, but one final question.
I'm so sorry.
No, okay, go ahead.
I have 3 people left, and they will have.
That's fine. That's fine.
I also want to point out that we did have a post in the chat from one of the people who's going to be speaking next. She shared her portfolio website. If anybody wants to check that out, it is there. And I'm hoping you can introduce yourself, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get this name wrong. Is it Kirt? Let me know before I do further damage to our next attendee. And please introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Kirsten Wright. And
Okay. All right, good. I was like, this is a challenge for me. Wonderful. Great to have you, Kirsten. Let us know how we can help. Tell us about your project or a career roadblock that we could all weigh in on and help with.
Okay, I've been writing for a number of years. I had a career in health research before that, but I discovered that writing is my passion. And I have, like she said, I have a portfolio website, and all of those scripts are finished. And but I decided, I think last year or 2 years ago, that I should get into producing. So I wrote a feature that I can produce. It's contained, my style is Christmas movies, family stories, after school special type stories. And the feature that I wrote is called Christmas Dinner Disaster. It's a family story, and it's all in one house, but it's supposed to be a big house. And just about family dramas. Someone asked me to compare it to other movies or other stories, and I compared it to August Osage County meets Gilmore Girls. And I think that's a pretty good representation of it. I'm also working on a short called Debate at Freedom Corner. And again, that's something I think I can produce myself, and I can produce it within a couple of months. And so right now, my biggest obstacle is financing, because I would like to get people on board to do things like casting and things like that. But I would like to pay them so that I can, I would just like to be able to pay them, and also be able to pay actors and things like that. So that's my biggest obstacle right now. I'm looking into promotion. I'm looking into doing Kickstarter and things like that. But yes, I would like to, because, to get cameras, equipment, and sound equipment and all of that. So.
Alternatively, I think in terms of what you said, you're right. It is actually kind of a frothy marketplace right now for holiday movies in general. All the streamers are looking for stuff like that. People are at home with their families because there are not a lot of theatrical anymore for films like that. So I think that's another avenue. Lifetime does these things, Hallmark, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Amazon, Hulu, they all are kind of looking for these holiday movies that are co-viewing. So I think that's an alternative way to produce them without having to go the indie route. But they also acquire as well. So if you want to, be the boss and produce it on your own, I'll let other people who are more well-versed in the putting a movie together talk about that.
Okay. I just have, have you done any shorts at all, or you just have the one written?
Yes, I produced a short in 2019, and I wrote a monologue that I put into a sort of a movie style, but it's only 4 minutes. And that's on my website as well. So that's what I've done.
Great. And then, so in terms of the feature that you're looking, are you looking to just produce that? Are you looking to, get it made however you want? Or are you also looking to direct it?
I'm looking to the feature that I was talking about, Christmas Dinner Disaster. I'm looking to produce myself to
Okay.
get some experience with that. I also
Yeah.
have another feature that's a Christmas story that I submitted to Big Apple Film Festival. So, I don't know if you've seen that, but so I'm still looking to work with the industry and with other people, whoever is recommended to me. But I wrote Christmas Dinner Disaster because I thought I could accomplish that myself.
That's great. I mean, I think, just like piggybacking off of what Martin said, like, I think, these holiday scripts, there's really no shortage of need for them. So, I think trying to get it made yourself, like, almost seems, like you don't need to put yourself through that trouble. Like, I would, if you're writing these scripts and they're, that niche that these streamers and networks are looking for, like, I would just keep doing that, and keep submitting them to those places, because I feel like, I mean, I know, I've done consulting work at places that make some of those movies, like Mar Vista and Hallmark, and they make so many of them. I mean, we're talking like, like almost 100 movies a year of these. Like, I mean, it's crazy, and just within one company. So they're constantly in need of these kinds of projects. So I would keep writing them and submitting them.
Submitting them to particular people at Mar Vista?
Yeah, I mean, or, like at any of the places. I know, like, a lot of these places don't take unsolicited, material, so that can be very challenging, but it's all, trying to find representation who could submit for you. Yeah, it's a genre that's hard, because it's not like you can go and there aren't a lot of screenwriting competitions in that. I've never researched, like, if there are, like, holiday movie screenwriting competitions, but there should be, given how popular they are. But yeah, I mean, I think, if you can keep writing them and try to get, representation off of that, I think that could be, a really good career path.
Okay.
And I think if you have like IMDb Pro or whatever, like find them, like those types of movies, and the producers who've been producing those types of movies, they'll continue to produce those types of movies generally. And they're probably a pipeline. So I would kind of do your research and reverse engineer who you can go to.
That's
Okay.
really great advice. Again, I'm going to apologize to our last couple attendees, because I'm going to have to keep everyone super on time for them. So you just have a chance to talk a bit about what you're working on, or any like career roadblocks you feel like you're facing. You've hit a wall. We could all chime in and offer some advice and thoughts. Would you like to start, Sal, and introduce yourself and tell us a bit about how we can be of help?
Hey guys, thanks so much. I love listening to everybody here, and it's really helpful. A lot of you have already answered some of my questions. I'm really sort of new to the making and producing and writing section of it. I come from a background of modeling, fashion, and I'm also a fine jewelry designer. I'm a super multitasker, as my mom puts it. I actually started making a short film about 3-4 years ago, because I heard a story from somebody, and so that's what inspired me. And I couldn't stop thinking about it, and so I wanted to make it. And then, of course, I didn't really know anybody, so I just started putting puzzles together. Someone I know who can be a cinematographer, someone I know, someone was an editor, and then I had a few friends in the circle that are actors and models. So I put that together. And then long story short, basically, as of now, I made 2 short films, one short that's a comedy, and then one is a documentary. So basically, I'm just slowly finding out what I really want to do. And I just love telling stories. So I am constantly inspired and I have a lot of stories to tell, but I'm not really particularly a writer. I do really, really enjoy directing. And I love it. But I don't necessarily love the producing part, although I'm finding out, on a very zero budget, I can do it because I made 2 short films. And on a side note, for fashion, I actually have helped directing and produce like a lot of like 15-second, 30-second like short commercials and things like that. So my question is actually kind of reflected the someone else who had already asked this. I have a few ideas for feature films, but I don't really know how to go about it. But now I'm learning that you should probably get a representation, which I didn't really know that. Now I'm learning this because I have representation for modeling and acting as well. So so I'm learning that. And so I'm not a writer. So how do I go about if I have an idea and I write down, let's say, the story, and I really want to make this and I want to make it into a feature, but it's like, I know how to make a short because I sort of just put it together, but I'm not a screenwriter. So how do basically, I don't know how to do screenwriting, but I do know sort of the steps on how to get it made, if that makes any sense. Like, how do I put it together?
Yeah, I maybe these festivals and these award competitions, I think you can get access to scripts, I believe, and so that could be a library that you can draw from. I'm sure a lot of writers would, love for their feature to be at least made into a short as a proof of concept. So I think that's a good place to start. I mean, friends that who may write, I think, just mining these things are out there in the public.
Yeah, I mean, you need a you need a script. You've got nothing to shoot. So the if you're looking for, I guess, a budget writer, or you get a script on a budget, start looking into, like, there's writing groups all over the place. And you could you can find a diamond in the rough there. Like, you can find some, like, people that are on their way up, that are really good, that they need an opportunity to get something made, or to get paid, even if it's not some massive amount, but whatever, you give somebody a couple of grand, and if they're a writer who's struggling to get paid anything, they'll be pretty stoked about it. But find somebody who's passionate about it, who's going to do a good job for you, and who needs the step up. It is the same way that you need to step up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would just chime in. You could also check Screencraft or Coverfly. They're fairly decent networks in terms of finding other writers, their log lines, similar genres, and reaching out. Writers want to work. You can probably stumble into a room and trip and fall over one if you're in the right room. But that being said, I wouldn't sell yourself short. Start writing, teach yourself writing, read books. You're only going to learn by doing. So you might be a writer that just needs a little bit of fine tuning.
That's a great point. And Sal, also, I don't know if you've had a chance to look yet, but there's a message in the chat from Kristen, who's sharing. She's always looking to collaborate. So you may follow up there with her. And Marissa, my apologies that you came last. I'm sorry we don't have a lot of time for you. I'm supposed to end this a little bit before the hour. So just jump right in, dive right in, tell us how we can help, and thanks for your patience with us.
Thank you so much. I have like half a voice today. So apologies, fighting something. But I'm a Cuban American writer based in LA. I'm coming from theater and just started doing film several years ago in collaboration with some of my faculty and and friends and students at CalArts, so I can lean on the resources of that place. I'm a Sundance Fellow this year for a script that I've been developing, and it takes place all in one night, New Year's Eve, 1972, at the home of Gloria Cienfuegos, a Cuban-American immigrant who is throwing a New Year's Eve party when her daughter Viv makes this wild, shocking announcement that throws the party into an avalanche of emotion. And I'm in the process right now of and some of the things that you've been talking about have been so helpful, but do I do a proof of concept short to help get this made? I've also been running into the walls of having a couple of other projects, like a time travel project called California's Dreaming TV project. How do I get that into the right hands, or into hands at all, in terms of rep? But so those were two queries I had. One has to do with, some people are saying, just don't do the proof of concept, just make the film. Because my past two films have been documentaries, I feel like I need a calling card. I need something that shows how I can handle narrative and story well, and also that sets the tone and feeling of this time that is so important and very similar to our time now. And then also the issue of, with this California's Dreaming and some other projects that I have, that I'd love to get out there in terms of finding the rep that will help open those doors for me. So those were my two queries very quickly.
I mean, I guess I jump in. I think part of the answer is you have to do both sides of the coin. You have to be pursuing reps and finding doors to the bigger outlets, but you also have to be creating. Everybody loves a train that's leaving the station. Nobody wants to get on the train and sit there. So whatever it takes to make your brand, your story feel like a train leaving the station, whether it's a proof of concept, shooting a feature, shooting something, doing outreach, keep writing. I think, unfortunately, you kind of have to do all of it at the same time.
Yeah, I would lean into the Sundance Lab as well. It is a very good resource, and it's a very rarefied space to be accepted in. And from what I've gathered, they're very helpful in terms of getting your scripts to producers and directors and stuff. So I would definitely lean on them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. If there's, and there are other similar programs out there, and you could do like a quick Google search and you'll find them. And I think those are really great because it does serve both paths, because you can help get the projects made, but it'll also help you find representation as well.
Those are some great suggestions. I hate to end this. Like, I could hang out with all of you another hour or two. These were some amazing questions, just very inspiring artists here and some wonderful industry guests. And thank you all for being so grounded and personal and sharing everything with us. And again, sad to end it. I'm supposed to end it before the hour, but thank you for spending time with us. It was awesome to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Nice
Thank
meeting
you,
you
everyone.
all.
Hey, thanks for coming, folks.
Bye.
Appreciate it.